It's often said that New York City is a tale of two cities. There's the gilded city, and then there's the other city. I grew up in public housing. I'm a son of the Bronx. I was raised by a single mother who had to raise 3 children on minimum wage. And I lived in conditions of mold and vermin, lead and leaks. And as I was living in these slum conditions, just across the street, the city was spending more than $100 million on a golf course for Donald Trump. And I remember asking myself, why would the city spend $100 million on a golf course rather than on the homes of struggling New Yorkers like my mother?
How are you, Ma?
Puppy.
Good to see you. How's everything?
And I knew at that moment that I had to fight for people like me.
Well, the building is okay because of the tenants. We all keep it okay. Why are they treating us like, we don't matter?
And so when I ran for public office, I had no ties to the political establishment. What I had was a fighting spirit. I became the youngest elected official in the city of New York, the first openly LGBT elected official in the Bronx.
The power of believing something, and you are out to helping people, helping business people. You give yourself, and that's the best of you. I love you. That's the best.
I have conducted investigations into Kushner companies. I held the first ever city council hearing in a public housing development, which ultimately led to a $3 billion FEMA grant. The most important thing to know about the Bronx is that what most people want is not a handout.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
What most people want is a fighting chance at a decent life. I'm Ritchie Torres, born and bred in the Bronx, and I'm running for Congress because the Bronx needs a fighter in Washington, D.C.
It's the next congressman, you heard?
The primary presents a stark choice between a progressive new guard and a reactionary old guard, between an LGBT trailblazer and a vicious homophobe, between a new generation of leadership and more of the same. When we're setting priorities on healthcare and housing, education and employment, we need to know that there is a vocal and visible advocate for the Bronx in that way.
Because you already live there, you see
And
it.
most politicians have never even stepped foot in public
Exactly.
housing.
They don't even know.
Much less live there.
They don't know.
There's so many people who are burned by broken promises.
There have been. There have been. But I can guarantee they won't go through that with you.
I want my neighbors to say in the Bronx, there's no one who fights harder for us in Washington, D.C. I'm not a miracle worker, but I'm a fighter. And I'm gonna fight my heart out to ensure that the Bronx gets its fair share. And as the Bronx goes, so goes the country.